do that. And I go over what we did and we can put that in the minute. So we are recording.
Thank you so much. I'll get with you, circle back about that after we're done.
Okay. So let me, the next thing on our item is the strategic plan. I want to go back to that, but I want to move to the principal, and any information or update that you want to give, any vision. I know that we've talked briefly, and I know that you probably have had meetings with the leadership team, but anything that you want to share at this point, because I want to make sure some of the stuff that you may want to share, it may be some items that we would cover when we talk a little bit about the strategic plan. Principal Salon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's two items, and I'll be brief. There's two that I think that I should introduce to this committee, given the nature and time that we're in, and that's reference to our wellness COVID strategies. And I'll say today that I did go to AD staff meeting. Fulton County Schools hosted the AD staff for school leaders. And we did discuss the mask mandate. And at this point, the charter schools are using what we know as operational procedure to issue a mask mandate, meaning that we would not need a board vote to have 100% mandate enforcement for staff, students, and visitors in our building. So I will be communicating that to use it as an operational procedure for safety during this time. Fulton County is doing a commission closer to their opening day to study the impact, and more likely they will, from what we're gathering, is go toward mask mandate. The other part is that the charter schools have agreed to follow Fulton's guide. Keep in mind, we're education experts, we're not health experts. So we all agreed to fall in line with the protocols set forth by Fulton County Schools. That's for employees, students, and staffs. And the only thing we did against that was that we would have a mask mandate. Other than that, the charter schools agreed. And keep in mind, today's July 26th, the 7-day moving average is above 100. Today it's at 138.7 per 100,000, which definitely symbolizes the rate increase in COVID cases. However, we do have our wellness plan, focus on wellness, and continuing the mitigation strategies and all the strategies we did use at summer school. Keep in mind that the only strategy that we won't use is taking the temperature of students getting out of the cars, because it would impact the logistic time. For the sake of time, I believe, Mr. Chair, you and the board, other board members do have a copy of that. I don't know if you have a copy of the draft. If not, I will submit it to the boards with that update. I did send it to a few board members who are part of that team. Another part is that this week we'll be doing our pre-planning starting tomorrow, 8 a.m. through Monday, August 2nd. And that week will be, we'll start the week displaying the vision from operations, instructional vision and focus, which has been coined our flight plan. We'll also have training on SCM. We also will have Dr. Walton do presentation on project-based learning. We also will have a leader in me doing professional development, as well as internal professional development for integration planning and Otis. So we have a full week ahead of us in preparation going into flight time. Flight time, August 3rd. When our students come back, we've got a full week Also, we'll be doing orientation for our TEKs, just to give you some insight on what's going on academically and instructionally as we prepare for the year. Mr. Chair, we will need your support and the board's support. We have a policy for that we give preference to our employees, and being that we've had somewhat of a crisis with hiring and we had to be very aggressive, we need the support from the board in opening up spaces for 4 students for 3 new employees, being that as a part of hiring, their children being a part of Main Street is critical to their jobs. So that's something that we need your support in, given the climate of our HR issues.
Well, let specifically,
Yes, sir.
what are you asking about that, Principal Salon?
There are 4 students, and I won't say the employee's name, but there are 3 employees and their children were either on the waiting list, and typically Main Street gives priority to employees. And our numbers, be it where they are, if there's slots for those students, we need approval from the board for those students to be allowed to come in.
And I'm assuming that by allowing them to come in, is this an issue of classroom space or is it another issue?
Well, it's just a fact that we have to, for community and policy purposes, it just has to be presented as a public matter, that because of the crisis, we moved them forward. So if they were in line, we moved them up. But typically employees get preference. But remember, we had a freeze on enrollment.
Okay. I understand exactly what you're saying, and I'm good with that. I think it fits when I'll talk a little bit more about it, but I think it fits in what I talk about our strategic plan as it relates to us creating an environment where our teachers feel appreciated and wanted. And I think a lot of times that if they work there, and it makes it a whole lot easier where they don't feel like if something happened with their child at another school that they may have to run there or get there. So I don't find that to be a problem. I think that's one of those things that we would do for our teachers, because I think it creates an environment where they feel appreciated and wanted. And I want all of our teachers to feel that way. So I find that to be a minor thing. So have no issue in pushing that.
Thank you, sir. Then I submit my report, and I submit my report at this particular time.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you, does anybody have any questions relating to Principal Salon's presentation? Okay. Let me I'm going to share my screen again to mention about the I just want to go quickly on strategic plan just for a part of discussions. Okay, as you see in the beginning, at the top, our strategic plan should be a roadmap to reach our goal. And the Main Street Academy will be rated as a top 10 school within Fulton County and the state of Georgia. I don't see any reason why that could not be achievable with the leadership and the staff and the teachers. I think that we can do that. And part of that is a strategic plan. If we're talking about student achievement, that we want to provide the necessary resources, support, and services to increase percentage of students who are proficient learners in all subjects to at least 75%. So just want everybody just to get a feel for that. I think all of that is achievable, but I think the main part is that, and if you see at the bottom of that, is that we will focus on preparing our students to be creative thinkers and exceptional learners. And I think that goes in part of some of the discussions that we had before when we talked about STEM certification and IB certification, that will help with that. And here's the main thing, especially for those on our staff, that I just want to make sure that we find the necessary professional learning and development for our teachers. And that development should not be to, let me see the nice, well, I don't have a nice way. I just like to give it straight. Then there's no confusement about it. That when we talk about professional learning and development for our teachers, I'm not just trying to do it for whatever your grade level is. That I think one of the things that we should do is to prepare our staff, our teachers, just to be great at what they're doing. And I'm not trying to say we're going to have development for you to be the best third grade teacher or anything like that. We want to help you. Part of when we do the evaluations, that you show signs of leadership and development and things like that. So we want to make sure that we have the necessary resources to do that. When we talk about some of the things that we want to do in the classroom, and then at this point, I need our teachers to feel comfortable in either sharing with one another or somebody what they're not comfortable with, and not because they're not, then don't say anything. So if there's some training that need to be done for professional learning development, let's make sure that we do that for our teachers. I talked with Principal Sloan, and we've talked about some of the things that we need to do. So whatever we have to do to make it better for our students in the classroom, we don't want to have expectations of our teachers if they're not sufficiently trained to do what we need for them to do. So that ought not to be an excuse. And I think I would like, as chair, I would like to know that at the front end, because I would think it's unfair to during the period where the principal will be evaluating teachers, that he knows prior to that what that teacher may need for training, and that teacher not be looked at in a negative in an area because he or she may need additional training. And there's no bad thing of saying, look, I need help with this. I'm not an educator, didn't go to school to be an educator, but I've been working with education a whole lot, but I do know how to be quiet and listen. So I do listen. And as anything as relates to school, if I have a question, I'm happy that I have our Vice Chair Jackson, that she certainly is a benefit to me when it comes to educational questions or issue. And I'm also comfortable with people that are on this committee, just, reaching out and asking you your viewpoints, what you think about it, because I'm not about to pretend to play a role like I know everything, but I do know how to ask the right questions. And I just want to make sure that we have all the necessary things that the principal has that's going to meet his vision for our students. And we need to make sure that our teachers have whatever. As I mentioned, like we talked about coaching and the coaching cycles, we'll do that. But the main thing is the school climate and culture. That is something that quickly can change, and it'll work well for us. That I want everybody. I want the leadership team. I want the teachers. I want the staff just to feel comfortable and trust and build that level of trust with each other. That means the trust among the staff, trust with families, trust with students, trust with all of our stakeholders. And part of that trust is that we have to do a better job of being effective and timely with our communication. So I think there would be an expectation that teachers should let parents know how their students are doing. If anything going on with the school, that we want to make sure that parents are aware of certain things. That is one of the reasons why I asked Ms. Simon, who's our communication director, to be a part of this committee, and Ms. Pearson, who's our parent liaison, to be a part of this committee, and also Ms. Douglas, who's our PTO president, because that's going to help with the communication. But we want to have an environment where everybody feels safe and they are comfortable talking with leadership and comfortable talking with one another. So that's how I look at our strategic plan. And I want to open up for any questions, any suggestions. Everybody know where we are. We are, and I've said this, and I think I don't say this to, as a judgment or anything in the past, that we are a D school. And that should be something that we don't want to be a D school. So we can do better. But I think in order for us to reach that goal, that we have to have a better working relationship with leadership, with our teachers and with our staff. And we can get there, and also with our parents and our other community stakeholders. So I hope, and I want everybody that's a part of this committee to have some buy-in. I want everybody that's a part of this committee to personally think, what can I do that's going to make us better, and share that. This is the reason we have this committee. It is school performance, academic. So it's two parts. It's the academic and it's the school. Because I can tell you this, a parent will not send their child to the school if they don't feel that they're safe or if it's a good environment. So we can have great academic, but we got to have a climate where people feel good. And for the teachers that are on here, I just want to make sure that, and I've heard from you over the last year, I want you to feel good about being an employee of Main Street Academy. And for some that may still be in the valley of indecision, that I would hope by the work that this committee does, that you understand that TMSA is committed to you. And we just want you to be committed as you are to our teachers. So that's important to me. So I will, I like to hear from other people on here to give an idea where we're going, what we want to do. So I've laid out what I want to do, and I understand that the principal is laying out his vision as to how to move forward. And I understand that teachers will be coming back, and there will be whatever discussions and workshops on what's the best way to do that. So I just would appreciate just the teamwork. I think that's best. But any suggestions? Vice Chair Jackson, do you have anything that you want to share or get out? Ms. Jackson? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I come back. Ms. Buckley, have hands raised.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to mention that I was glad that Mr. Abdul, and I've spoken to him, has taken the initiative to get a consultant to help us come in and have a fresh pair of eyes on everything. So I think that's a good first start. I brought this up at our initial meeting. I know there was a goal of getting more of our teachers gifted certified, but I haven't really heard anything else about it. So I was wondering if that was in the budget. Maybe this is a question for Principal Abdul, because if so, then Ms. Taylor and I would have to go ahead and get the ball rolling with the district so that they could coordinate the cohort to be able to host it on TMSA's campus. It was just brought up during a time like at the end of the school year where there was a lot going on. And so if that's something that we're still interested in doing, then we kind of need to circle back to it to see if we can go ahead and get the ball rolling.
Principal Slum, do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, I suggest, I do remember Ms. Buckley and I talking about it. And of course, you know, with all the changes, it didn't take a front seat in the opening of this year, but I think we need to add, as part of this committee, we can add it as a future business item. And Ms. Buckley, in between now and the next meeting, we could look at all the working parts and discuss it and how it would strategically be done, how it would work in our school improvement plan, our strategic plan, and the mechanics of the whole process.
Well, and I think that's a great idea, and I would hope that maybe if you and Ms. Buckley and what other individuals, Ms. Avery or Mr. Mitchell, that you have on the leadership team that can look at that and be prepared to present that at by our next meeting, which is whatever that date is, the fourth Monday. Because I'm still, even though I chair this committee, I'm also still I'm also a member of the finance committee. So I think that's something that we need to do. And just to add to that, Principal Salone, I think that either you or anybody else on the leadership team, it's not just you, because I know that you're in charge of the school, but I do understand that each and everybody may have an idea and they may see certain things, and you can, feel, and that's what I want to make sure, that we have that comfort level, that if you got a suggestion that you feel comfortable going to the principal or either one of the assistant principals to share what that is. So when I talk about being a top 10 school, that's not something we can do free. So it is going to take money to put in the necessary training and certifications that Ms. Buckley is speaking about. So I just think that as much of that you guys think is needed, start looking at that now. And then when I talk about our next meeting, then that would be a primary item on the agenda. So that's the type of stuff that I'm saying, that I want to try to keep these meetings within an hour. So I would know that that's one thing that we want to talk about. And if we want to talk about that, then I don't want to rush through anything, but I don't want to put a lot of agenda stuff and then feel the need to rush. So I think that should be a primary concern, Principal Salone. So if y'all work on that, then we'll make sure we have it. Anything when it comes to what's going to make our teachers better and prepare them, let's work on that now as it relates to costs, because even though as part of the budget, we've done a budget for the school year, but if I need to go back and say, hey, we can't wait till next budget year to do certain things, these are things that we need to get done now. So I push it in the finance committee, but I just need all the information, and then we'll push it, and then I'm even taking it to the governing board. I'm sorry, Principal Long, you had another question?
No, I just want to say, right now, we've got 20% of our teachers tag certified. And what we have to do when we make decisions, we got to always keep in mind the critical need that, like you said, we're D school, and we're not trying to, we don't definitely want to remain in that point. But in all the decisions that we have to make have to be always first on the critical need in the critical area. And right now, the most critical need in the critical area is in our English and language arts and developing a balanced literacy program, a structured one. We already know that majority of our students, because of COVID, have lost over 1.5 to 2 years of learning loss. So those strategies that impact reading and ELA are front and center on our academic, that's going to relate to complete school improvement. So, being that we're succinct, I think we definitely have to focus on those things that's going to get us out of the danger zone. And because I'm one of the people like you, Mr. Davis, I don't think we've got too much time to waste. And that's where the focus has to be, in my view.
Let me just say this, and I'm throwing this out, Principal Sloan, as a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
'Cause I just had a meeting with Westlake School Governing Council. And, I've also, have had discussions with the superintendent and other people in the community that we all realize that there's an issue with lost learning. And there had been some reports that some kids have fallen about a year and a half behind. And I think it was like one meeting I had with the superintendent, and he said, well, we see students that might have been a C student, now they're an A student. So we know what that's about. So what I want to make a suggestion, but it's up to you, Principal, on whether or not y'all want to do. But my suggestion would be if we can put together an ad hoc committee to try to address the issue of lost learning, and that committee be chaired by Ms. Avery and Mr. Mitchell. I'm just throwing it out because I don't want to put too much on you, but I think that's something that when school starts, it's something good to communicate to our parents that we understand that that is a legitimate, real reason, and we're trying to address it. And we don't want, I don't ever want to get where parents are asking us, what are we doing about so-and-so? I want us always to be proactive to say, okay, we understand there's an issue with lost learning. We have our two, and I'm just using that as an example. I mean, you can go within it, but we have our two assistant principals chairing a ad hoc committee that's addressing that on every grade level, because I want our parents not to have a lot of unanswered questions, but I think that we can be proactive in providing answers before they get questioned. So that's one of the things I see as it relates to this committee. Any thoughts about that, either from Principal Salong, Assistant Principal Avery, or Assistant Principal Mitchell? Any thoughts about that?
Well, my first thought is that, we do have a design to address the literacy loss. And that's through identifying it as a critical area in our school improvement plan. We did hire an additional literacy and reading coach along with a reading teacher. And we do have specific plans and strategies that at the next meeting, for the sake of time tonight, that will focus a full out balanced literacy plan and approach. I think, as you say, not just myself, but the assistant principals, the literacy coach, and our teachers, we want all of them to be able to describe what our plan is to address learning loss in the area of literacy. In our leadership team, I don't know if developing a committee would work because we've got a structure for dealing with it and on the school side.
Okay, let me just, there are going to be times when I'm going to throw out stuff and it may be already in place, so don't take it. I mean,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, I just try to think of being proactive and think about things ahead of time. So, it may, some of the stuff that I may throw out may already be in place. So I'm not saying it to be like it's not taking place. I'm just like, okay, this is what, I just think, because the other part of that with the district is not only the literacy, what they call it numerical, I mean, just math too. So I just think all that needs to be in there. So I'm not gonna know, so I know where my lane is, but I'll throw out something. And if it's in place, I'll say, Mrs. Davis, we're already doing that. We're good. That means we're on the same page. But I hate to have a thought and don't say nothing, because I'm thinking like, well, maybe they're already doing it. So I'd rather be overcautious than
Yes,
what, because I respect everybody that's on here, and I mean, him or her doing their job, but there are going to be times that I'm going to throw out stuff because I just don't know, but I could be wrong. But at least I like the fact that you're telling me, hey, we already working on that, so I'm good. Miss Delaney, I think you had your hand up, or did you take it down? Miss Delaney, did you have a question?
Oh, yes, I've been trying to unmute. I'm sorry. I guess you came back to it because I was trying to see, I know like from the different things in meeting with Mr. Abdul Salam, where our flight is headed. However, I noticed you continue to say like, we are D school, and this is where we are. So I just want to kind of know what was, as working with the academic team, what is your expectation of knowing how we need to pace ourselves, our guide to grow? Not saying that we're a D school this year and the next year we're gonna be an A school, which I know that's not, because this can't happen overnight. So we taking that in consideration that, this is a work and plan.
Yes,
Well-
ma'am. Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Ms.
Oh,
Princess.
I didn't know, who was that question to?
Ms. Delaney.
I was just putting out that was Mr. Davis. Because when you were,
Well, let me say this. I mean, I am, I guess I'm pragmatic, but at the same time, that when I say a D, I just want everybody, like, we're not going to accept that. We may not be able to go from a D to an A, but I do believe in knowing the people that are there, the teachers that we have, and the commitment from the leadership team that we all probability could go from a D to a B. I think that is extremely possible with the people that are there. I really think that can happen. So I really believe in that. But at the same time, just to be clear, I don't want anybody to think that because I'm saying that, and if your students are not, but I want each teacher to have pride and buy into the fact that they're the best teacher out there. And if I'm looking at a teacher and you're the best teacher out there, then you know that your students are going to be a product of that. So I do think that we can go from a D to a B. So, I mean, I've done it. I did it with Sandtown Middle School. We went from a D to a B in 1 year, but I realize what that is when I say this. It's just giving the principal and the leadership team the necessary resources to do what they need to do. The other part of that is making sure that our parents are engaged and feel the need to participate to do what they want to do. So for Ms. Delaney, for you, and I see Ms. Harris and whoever else, if you're a teacher in a classroom and your day in and the student leaves Main Street at 4, then that education still has to have a couple of 2 or 3 hours, let's say from 6 to 8 or 6 to 9 when they get home. So parents have to buy into that. They have to enforce what a child is getting in the classroom, and they need to come home here. What did y'all learn in school every day? So part of that is when I say that we can, I'm not going to put all that burden and say it's the teacher's role, because it's a parent's responsibility to make sure that their child is doing what he or she needs to do to get home, and I'm not saying overload child with homework or anything, but some of the stuff is just basic stuff, just being a good parent. But we just need to have the parents to buy in, to let them know that education is not just a teacher's responsibility, and that you got to play your part. And if parents do their part and what our teachers will already be doing, it's not going to be a difficult task. Any other questions?
Oh, go ahead. Mr. Davis, I want to circle back in support. Ms. Buckley brought up the suggestion that we talked about. I think a good way, and I like the suggestion, but I want to circle it back, not just from a perspective of we're just getting tag endorsements, but from the perspective of SEM. SEM is, from what I understand, is research-based on using differentiated strategies, particularly those relative to tag students for all students. So if we come in from an SEM base versus in support of our program, I think it'll get better latitude. So that's why we have to work on that aspect when we present it forward from an aspect of building our SEM program. And I don't, I think that's what we had in mind, or at least that's what's in my mind in reference to that.
Yes, sir. That's what we talked about. This
Yeah.
SEM focuses a lot on personalized learning, which is kind of
Yes,
like
ma'am.
the cousin to differentiation.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
getting those strategies just outside of our clusters and more into our classroom.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'm excited about working on that.
Okay. Miss Avery, Mr. Mitchell, I want to hear from you. What's your thought process?
As it pertains to what, sir?
Anything that you're listening and you're paying attention, any ideas you have?
In terms of mathematics, what we were talking about earlier, Mr. DC and I discussed back in the spring about how we would just incorporate the power standards to loop in with the current standards to address the learning loss. So sort of what Mr. Abdul was suggesting, we've already kind of set some things in place to address the concerns of learning loss from the mathematics perspective.
All right. Miss Avery, anything you want to add?
Good evening. Yes, sir. I am in total agreement with what Mr. Abdul was saying, and also the tag endorsement I think is important. But I also think that we need to also try to offer opportunities for some of our teachers to receive reading endorsements as well, because the kids that learning loss is going to be so severe. I think those strategies would also help. And I know, you can't get a reading endorsement. We couldn't do it right now, but just thinking down the line, especially for my teachers, the K-4 teachers, I think that would be really important. So just something to kind of think about as we're thinking about resources and training and, where we would get the funding from for them to receive that endorsement.
Okay, so as it relates to that endorsement, going back to the same thing that President Salon said and Ms. Buckley, if you can look into that, information, be prepared to present it at our next meeting so we can start looking. I think that's important. I had a principal, well, not just a principal, it was an article that the principal shared with me and said that a lot of our teachers, regardless of how great they are and how good they are, don't know how to teach reading. And I don't think it's a negative, it's just that
It's a science to it.
it's a
Yeah, I
science to
mean,
it.
yeah, you really have to know. Yeah, I agree.
And that principal told me that, then I read the article and I'm like, yeah, you're right, because I may be a math teacher or and you got to be able to teach people don't understand, but we're not just doing K-8, but we need when those kids leave our middle school, when they go into high school, that they understand when they're trying to comprehend that math college algebra, something that says now you got to read and interpret so they can do that. So I think that's something that should be like near the top of the list also. So I think you and the leadership, other members of the leadership team, and also with Ms. Buckley needs to just factor that into all of the stuff that you think needed, so we can discuss those things next meeting and then try to figure out what it's going to cost and what it can be. I know the district is, and I have a meeting tomorrow, the district is coming up with a new program about money. So I've asked before, was charter schools going to get these? So I'm going to follow back up. And if we get some of that, then I think that's where it should be focused on. And that would be, once I found out from the district that we can get that, and if once y'all work on what that cost may be, then I think at that point that we can make an argument to the board that that's where we need to use those resources if we're going to move to where we need to move to. So if y'all can just get there and be prepared to present that, and that's going to be the most of our meeting next month. Principal Salone, that you, Ms. Buckley, Ms. Avery, Mr. Mitchell will just present those things to us.
Mr. Willie, I've already been in contact with the district and Metro RESA. Usually, if they offer the endorsement through Fulton County, we would have to go that route. I haven't been able to get a solid answer on that yet. So I reached out to Metro RESA and they said that if Fulton County doesn't offer it this year, that the teachers could take it directly through them. So I'm just really waiting to hear back on the information and the finalized details.
Okay, so let me know if anybody I can follow up with the district to find that out for you. Okay,
I think I need to caution, we have some, I don't know if that should be the host of our meeting. We've got some strategic things that are aligned as well. We'll be taking benchmark assessment, writing assessments. There's some pieces that I see that as a program, and that's a developmental program.
what's
But
the program?
I'm sorry.
I'm
What-
sorry, I'm just, what was you
We're
saying?
talking about developing, adding more tag certified. That's more developmental. And that's a program that's going to take time, but there's some tactical things in terms of benchmarking. There's some other components that will impact us by the time we meet next time.
Okay,
So the question was stated that will be the most of what we do. That was just an idea that was presented tonight, and I think we got to stay on course with the fullness of what we're doing strategically.
okay. Well, I mean, I understand that, but let's, I don't want to stop just getting as much information, and we can look at and see if it's something that can be implemented to move forward, or whether or not there's a timeline
Yes, sir.
later. But right now, as I said, is one of the norms. I want everybody to keep an open mind and come up
Yes, sir.
with whatever suggestions, that if we can't do it in the way that maybe we're hearing that it should be done, then maybe there's some certain components of that we can start a gradual implementation. Because the thing is that I think it's better that the more teachers we have that have those type of certifications or whatever type of in reading
Yes, sir.
thing. So all I'm saying is, let's look at everything, and then we'll sit and we can say, okay, this is P1, this is prior to 1, this is down on the list, this is something that we can look into going into next year. But I just want to make sure that everybody here and every teacher and staff member understand that we're trying to do the best to make all of our teachers successful and our students career and college ready.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Walton, did you have anything you want to add?
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for the acknowledgement. I am just taking it all in for right now. As Principal Salam indicated, I will be doing a few presentations this week and helping them get ready for project-based learning, which will align with many of the initiatives that several people mentioned. It covers a wide perspective, including, dealing with real life situations, dealing with collaborative efforts across different curricula. And I think this will go a long way in terms of getting out of the D status, because project-based learning is research and evidence-based. It has been proven to be effective. And I think that, the main part will be getting the staff on board with it, because it's not something that can be forced upon them. They have to understand and realize the benefits. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be a lot of work initially, but once it's in place, I think it will run like a well-oiled machine and take you, help in getting you where you want to be. And that's out of the status that you're currently in. I will also be working with the new and novice teachers and helping them get prepared for first bell and making sure that, they transition into their roles. Some of them are new to the school. Some of them have less than 3 years, and some of the other ones are on provisional certification. So I'll be working with them to make sure that they have the support and guidance that they need to have a successful year. So I'm excited to be a part of this committee and look forward to working with each of you.
Okay. Well, Dr. Walton, I will say this, I am a big fan of project-based learning. I have seen it in work. I have actually gone through some training that the district did for project-based learning, and also assisted in getting funding for some teachers with an elementary and middle school. So I am a big fan of project-based learning. I think it makes the student understand when they ask that question, why I need to learn this, that because you're putting everything together, that it makes a lot of sense. So I think it's going to be a great benefit. And I do know the hardship, difficulties sometimes it may have with the teachers, like, oh, this is something else I got to learn. But once you get it, the most important part of that is the student gets the importance of education. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. So Vice Chair Christy Jackson, any comments? Or are you not able to speak at the moment? Okay. So what I want to move at this point is stand within the time that I want to go. As most people know, that I have public comments near the end. And there is a comment that I don't know, Miss Jackson, parent, Miss Jackson, she wrote in the chat that she's at work, so she can't talk. So Miss Principal Slum, she has two questions. One, I guess, are all the teachers hired? And two, will the children eat in the cafeteria or classroom?
Thank you, Mr. Davis, and to our parent, Ms. Jackson. At this time, we have decided that the students will eat in the cafeteria. They will have the shields in the cafeteria, and they will be wearing their masks to the cafeteria and observing the classroom, the 3 feet rule in terms of social distancing. The other aspect is about all of our teachers hired. No, we're not 100% filled. We interviewed today, I believe, Miss Avery was a 4th grade math teacher. We're still short of 4th and 5th grade.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I don't have the list in front of me, but we still need 2 special ed teachers, 2 math teachers, 4th and 5th. And Esau, but we've done a lot of hiring within the last 2 weeks to fill several vacant positions. But we have also consulted with Dr. Davis for our long-term subs, and the long-term subs that we're looking at have worked with Main Street before, very familiar with our community and our some of our processes. So that's about where we are. I wish I had the number in front of me, but at tomorrow's board meeting, we'll have updated numbers.
Hey, this is Kristen. Just on that, do we have a long-term sub secured for every vacancy?
Not at this time. We wanted to wait till our goal was to contact her by midweek. They're on standby, just wanting to know, how many we need, and we wanted to make sure that we onboard a few before we get the exact number, but they're on standby to fill our need.
Vice Chair Jackson, any other question?
No, I mean, it's just the situation with the vacancies. It is really concerning. I intentionally joined a few educators Facebook groups to kind of try to recruit some employees, send them the way of TMSA. And then I've asked probably a dozen colleagues and that are in administration, and this is a nationwide crisis right now where we are having a major teacher shortage. I hate that it's impacting us as much as it is.
Yeah, and Ms. Jackson, thanks to your point, one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we complete our teacher observations in a timely fashion, and that we don't get caught at the end of the year. Because most teachers who want to change now, they're afraid that they're going to be penalized to get out of their contract because they're so close to the school year. So the timing would be that we do our observations, contracts are issued. If you're not coming back, that will be known to the staff. We could start hiring at the end of the school year when people are looking. We could secure qualified staff at the normal cycle, the normal school cycles when people hire. Right now, we're so far out of that. And given that, the leadership change and the administration change, but typically from what I've heard that, part of the situation was that, the way that, what would help is if the contracts are given out early. So I'm sure we're talking about that with finance. So we're looking this year to have a better situation so that it could support our retention process and our hiring process in the future.
Ishmael, I did want to add to any assistance that you need. The beginning of the school year is my downtime. I am still certified. If you guys need any assistance for me to come in, help out, support, just reach out to me, please.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay. Ms. Harris, is there anything you want to add? Okay. Any other public comments?
This Ms. Harris, sorry. I just have a comment coming from the teacher standpoint. If we could do a little better with communication, getting to teachers instead of waiting last minute to communicate stuff to us will probably help.
Okay. So I think that's something that the leadership team just heard, and we all want to make sure that communication, like I say, make sure it's effective and timely. So I think that's something that can be resolved. If there's no other.
I'm sorry. I just have a question for Ms. Harris, if that's okay, Willie.
Yes.
Ms. Harris, could you be a little bit more specific about communication regarding what? Just because, like in leadership, it's always like, well, what specifically, like about any new policies, curriculum changes, employment status of like, if we're missing teachers, just in general, because there's a fine line between overwhelming employees with so much information that the important stuff gets lost, then, not communicating enough. If you could just clarify a little bit so that everybody is sure.
As far as getting emails last minute pertaining to any like things that are going on in the school, not throwing shots at anybody, just as far as like decorating our doors. Some of us probably had themes already, and bought stuff for the doors, and then to know that it's something else, which is not an issue or a problem, but if things are just communicated a little early, so in advance we'll know what we're doing, even things that's going on around the school. I do understand at times things do have to get communicated last minute because something may change, but because in the past we've gotten emails the night before or the day before, things are going on. If just possible, if things are known, if we can know ahead of time instead of waiting a day before or a week before.
Got it. Thank you. And I will just say this, and I hope it can be communicated to like all of the staff in instances where, say leadership, has they want the doors done a certain way. The teachers already had something in mind. I think that what Willie has laid out as far as like the spirit of this committee, that we can help that translate to the spirit of the school. So when an issue like that does arise, that you can go to leadership and say, hey, can we meet in the middle? I already was thinking this. Can we merge those two ideas? Like, for example, if, you know, leadership presents a field trip and that's not something you were planning on, can we, you know, negotiate and openly talk, right? Because I think that measures like that are really what's going to help heal the school and move us in a more positive and, you know, collaborative direction.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a good point. And I mean, like I said, the theme is that I believe in the staff at Main Street. And I believe that if we just, I mean, we've got to change some feelings, we got to change some attitude, but I think by working together, and as I said, that first norm, put TMSA and the students first, and everything will be fine. And sometimes it's just building in on those relationships and having a level of respect, professionalism, and flexibility. So that's it. I think like I said, I want to try to keep these within an hour, and we're at 8:10. So at this point, I will, before I move to adjournment, that we do understand, Principal Salome, that you, Ms. Buckley, and the leadership team will be working to present some suggestions, maybe also costs of things that we could be looking at as a priority that I can present to the Finance Committee and to the board at large.
I want to thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll I like to talk to you about some things offline.
Okay. You know, I don't know what your meetings are tomorrow, but I may do a stop by. Just text me later, let me know what's a good time, and I can just probably stop by.
Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate this, and you know, I think we can work together to make Main Street the best, a top 10 school. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. This is Kristen.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. If there's no objection, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, and look forward to working with everybody.
Willie, if you can let me know how to access the recording.
Okay, I get that to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.